Hey guys, Nicolai here. Before we get into whether or not you can surrender in an esports tournament, or if you're allowed to have a girlfriend as an esports player, I first need to let you know that this video is sponsored by Pro Guides. If you're struggling to win games or you're a lower rank than you were in Season 8, I highly recommend ProGuides.com. They currently have a full course they filmed with Nightblue3 himself all about lane priority, gank paths, and how to 1v9 from the jungle. Along with other courses, custom stats, tools, and 24/7 challenger coaching staff, they're the fastest proven way to get better at League of Legends. So be sure to check it out with the first link in the description. Now with that being said, let's jump into the video. Within the past decade, esports went from something that old people didn't understand to something old people still don't understand. But something that did change were the events. We went from esports events looking like this to now being completely sold out arenas, even with dragons. And like everything that grows and becomes incredibly popular, you have to create specific rules for those who participate, and sometimes even rules for those who come to spectate. Like a while back when the LCS made an official rule stating that fans would not be allowed to have signs that said "Free Tyler 1." But of course, Tyler 1 has since been freed. So keeping the introduction short, let's begin the 5 rules you didn't know existed in esports. Getting started with number 5, ranks. Surely we've all fantasized about being on stage at the finals of a League of Legends tournament, performing an epic 1v5 play that makes you and your team win the game and win the trophy. But then we wake up and stop dreaming and realize that we're stuck in silver, so our chances of becoming a pro player are a little unlikely. And to be completely honest, the chances of a silver player becoming a pro player is actually 0. Because in Rule 2.4 of the official 2019 LCS rule set, it is stated that all players on the team must have held a peak solo queue ranking within the last year of Diamond 3 or above. Meaning that only 0.54% of the total League of Legends player base is currently able to become a professional League of Legends player. This is of course to maintain the LCS to be competitive from the get-go. That way organizations aren't able to do some sort of brand publicity stunt and place some low-tier players on their team and be embarrassing for the league. Kind of like what's currently happening in the Russian equivalent of the LCS, where an organization has a team composed of 5 female players. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being a female player, but this team's skill levels are nowhere near a competitive level, as everyone was able to realize this when they lost one of the fastest professional League of Legends games in a record 13 minutes. But alright, for number 4, now that you're a professional esports player, you have a serious question. Can you surrender in a professional match? In solo queue, people throw around a surrender vote for almost every little inconvenience. But is it against the rules to do that in a professional match? Well, it's actually not against the rules at all to surrender. At any point past 15 minutes, a team is allowed to surrender just as they could in a regular game. There has even been teams who have surrendered on the biggest stage. In the first game of Worlds 2015, Invictus Gaming was on the losing side of a 30-minute game versus Fnatic. And instead of wasting any more time, they decided the game was already over and they agreed to surrender.
Will not pin kick out to the wall. It's a battle on 3 fronts, and it's a battle that Fnatic is winning. That's a triple kill for Reckless. There's 2 more targets in his sight. He's looking for more. He has the tower dive. Huni is chasing Kid down. A flash away. The ricochet. It's bouncing. It's spinning. Reckless, can he get more? Boomerang's not there. Huni and Reckless are inside the base of IG.
Fnatic so far in the minion wave is there. That's a inhibitor down, but they're playing the long game. They get the inhibitor and the 1 fight.
Everything counts for Fnatic. They get the kills. They get a Zhonya's as well from February. Showing off a little bit, can go back. That's a surrender from IG. They know the game was over.
Invictus Gaming surrender.
And by the way, this wasn't the only time a professional team has surrendered. Just from a simple Google search, I could find a handful of other instances of professional teams throwing in the towel, including this match from 2014 in the EU LCS when Team SK Gaming was down a whole 12 kills to 0 in 20 minutes and they decided that they had enough.
Scoring like gold does for you. That's going to be another turret going down, Alliance. Now they can take this bottom turret as well. There's a big wave there for Frog, and they're just taking everything from SK. 12-0 in kills. Not a single reply from SK Gaming. And it's a 20-minute surrender, ladies and gentlemen.
Getting on with the video, we go to number 3, fines. Although surrendering is acceptable, there are a solid amount of things that are not acceptable. In traditional sports, fines get thrown around all the time.
I'm here so I won't get fined.
Now back to esports and professional League of Legends, fines work the same way. On this topic, I want to show you one of the silliest fines I've ever seen. Take a look at this 10-second video and tell me if you see anything wrong with it.
I think ASQ is gonna win because C9's playstyle is really predictable and they're drafting in a similar way every game, so I think they're definitely counterable, and ASQ is the better team.
Odds are, unless you've seen this video before, you probably didn't see what happened. The player being interviewed is kind of trash talking his opponent's team. The team he's talking about is actually in the background. And over here is C9 High, and High isn't really liking what he's hearing, so he quickly puts up a middle finger. But for that literal 1 second of flipping the bird, Riot Games fined High 500 euros. Realistically though, Riot Games doesn't throw around fines that often. The most common fines that get thrown around are to players who are behaving in ways that can be perceived as a little bit toxic or racist. Just a while back, Korean player Khan was playing on Chinese servers and had a little bit of a toxic moment where he added that you can't win a game with 4 Chinese players. Riot Games didn't like this and Khan was fined 1 million won, which isn't as much as you think, but it is equivalent to $1,000 US. Now, before we finish off the video and head to number 1, I want to use number 2 as a way to rapid fire showcase some simple but still interesting official rules. So, let's get to it. A teammate cannot touch another teammate's computer in any way once a match is started. You must be over 17 years old to be eligible as a professional player. A player is not allowed to use the on-stage computers to view or post on any social media. And although this sounds kind of obvious, I never really thought about it. But lastly, Riot employees cannot be players. Now to send off the video for number 1, no girlfriends allowed. I gotta say this right off the bat, this isn't an official rule by Riot Games or any of the official esport leagues. However, some teams have created understandings with their players that they are not allowed to have girlfriends while they're an active player. Additionally, for teams that don't have this rule, some players stick by this rule for themselves regardless. Here's some examples. Popular EU LCS player Reckless has stated that not having a girlfriend is one of the reasons he gives for why he's consistently been a good player, stating that he had a girlfriend during the 2012 season of League of Legends, and he felt like he had a hard time dealing with both things at once. And in an interview with the players of Team Misfits, they were questioned if any of them had girlfriends. They all answered no. However, their jungler Maxlore went as far as to say that if Faker doesn't have a girlfriend, I don't have a girlfriend. Now, some of you watching might think that's a little crazy, but if you think about it, the top teams and top players taking their job seriously are practicing the game they play for reportedly 12 to 14 hours a day. As much as it can be easy to say that these guys are just being paid to play video games, they're actually being paid to perform, win championships, and win prize money. Having players be focused on other things during that time could potentially be distracting. In an interview with Business Insider, pro player Xpecial said that he has seen other pro players get girlfriends and then they start to play worse. But let's be honest, if you're in love with League of Legends, who needs a girlfriend, am I right? Like Xpecial said, I'm married to League of Legends, essentially. I can't do both. Girls will have to wait until later.